So a lot of people are spending time now thinking about tech debt and how it relates to our Salesforce implementation. So there have been some great articles I've seen recently. I saw one from Jen Lee talking about tech debt on one of the Salesforce blogs, but obviously there are other people in the ecosystem who are spending time talking about tech debt and how to reduce it. But I think tech debt has got a bad rap. I don't think all tech debt is bad. I think we need to understand how we live with tech debt. And I want to spend some time thinking about how we prioritize and understand how to pay down that tech debt. So first of all, let's have a definition. Wikipedia says it's a concept in software development that reflects the implied cost of additional rework caused by choosing an easy or a limited solution now instead of using a better approach that would take longer. And as with monetary debt, if technical debt is not repaid, it can accumulate interest, making it harder to implement changes. Completely agree with that. But we need to think about, is all tech debt equal? And I don't believe it is. So there's high impact tech debt, and maybe that's 29% ARR. That's your credit card interest payments. And you want to get rid of that as soon as possible. And that tech debt is impacting your current change projects. It's increasing development times. Maybe it's affecting the Salesforce performance because of the way that things have been architected. The other thing that might be, there's surprises causing release rollbacks. You didn't realize that certain things were being impacted. You make a change, we break the org, the business stops, we have to very quickly roll back and start again. And maybe even there's an immediate saving in license fees in terms of there are managed packages we're paying for that just aren't being used, that we can get rid of. Maybe we could reallocate licenses better. So we can immediately pay down that debt. And that's what I call high impact tech debt. If I think about medium impact, that's sort of 5% ARR, that's maybe your mortgage. It's long term, you can live with it. And again, I think in Salesforce terms, future projects are being scheduled, so we're not making changes to that area of the org yet, that's where that tech debt is, but we will be, and when we do that, it will increase delivery cost. Again, we may be able to reduce license fees, we don't know yet, but that's medium impact, we kind of live with that, we understand but that needs to be paid down at some point. And then there's a low impact tech debt, 0.1% ARR. So again, this is areas of the org that are very rarely changed, so therefore it's not affecting us at all. So there's no real impact on the business. We can sit there almost forever with that level of tech debt. So the trick here is not just saying, oh, we've got to get rid of tech debt, but we need to think about which areas of tech debt are important, so we therefore are paying down the most expensive. So not all tech debt is created equal. So simply saying, yeah, everything needs to be changed, everything needs to be reduced, not true. There's a return on investment in terms of how we reduce that tech debt. So if I think about the different ways that tech debt got created, maybe it's accidental or outdated design. Maybe the latest release, Winter 22, is enabling us to implement some enhancements there, which reduces the way we've built something. And again, we can use that to, not by migrating to the latest release, we can get rid of some of that tech debt. Maybe there's some which was deliberate or a shortcut. We knew we were actually creating tech debt, but we had to get something out quickly. And then finally, which is an unusual form, which is called documentation debt. If I've written down and explained why we've done something in a certain way, I can understand the implications of it. A lot of tech debt is because we don't understand why someone else built it maybe a year, 2, 3 years ago, and that's what's causing the problem. And you can see that grid there, whether it's high, medium, or low impact. What should we be doing in terms of the different types of debt? Clearly, high impact. Let's get to the latest release as quick as possible. Maybe we're actually going to launch a project specifically to fix that tech debt because we've got performance issues. And certainly we should do the analysis and start to document why we've made those changes. At the opposite end of that, low impact, then maybe there's no action. Maybe the automated documentation is purely building the metadata dictionary through the APIs, and we've just got that access to that content. But the challenge is you can't manage tech debt with only a partial view. You need to understand the full picture to be able to take some sensible decisions about how we would pay down that tech debt. So before I get into that, here's an interesting question. When people say, oh, it's an empty field, let's delete it, did you realize there are 5 reasons why that field could be empty and you shouldn't delete it? So you can't simply take a very simplistic view of going, no data, less than 10%, let's get rid of it. So maybe the field's just been created, but it's not been populated yet. Maybe it's used at year or quarter end, and we haven't got to the year or quarter end, and therefore it's not been populated. You delete that field and suddenly the integration to Oracle Financials breaks. Maybe it's used in some form of automation, but at the end of the automation, that field is cleared. Maybe it's used in some sort of roll-up reporting and then it's cleared afterwards. Or maybe it's used in the third-party integration and then it's cleared. And the question is, I'm sure there are experts out there who are listening to this could think of more situations where you shouldn't delete a field just because it's empty. So again, we need to take a slightly more holistic view of tech debt to understand where it is and how we should pay it down. So let's think about a tech debt strategy. First of all, you need a full assessment of your org, and we call that config knowledge. There's another session we've just run, which is all about the equivalent of Carfax for your org. Config knowledge is pulling together all the information, the user stories, the requirements, the process maps related to metadata, the metadata dictionary, the analysis of metadata, the dependency analysis, the field impact analysis, and then tying that back to third-party documentation. When you've got that full picture in a metadata dictionary, you can then understand, track the impact, understand what the tech debt is, and then also use that to manage the changes as we start to reduce that tech debt. So the second thing is, we shouldn't be building this metadata dictionary and doing the analysis by hand. You can use the APIs. There are applications like Elements out there will do this for you. I was talking to our VP of product management. We've analyzed 9 billion metadata items, building that metadata. We're doing the heavy lifting. We're actually using the APIs to drive through the org, build the metadata dictionary, and do that analysis for you, so you've got a clearer picture. The next thing is you need to think of a formalized approach for tech debt assessment and then prioritization. Simply saying all tech debt is bad is a wasteful approach. You need to work out how you assess tech debt and then how you'll prioritize the changes to it, how you pay it down. And the next point is you need to budget time and make sure that your business users understand that the reason you can't deliver something as quickly as they expected is because there is an important activity which is paying down tech debt. And that needs to be budgeted into certainly your high impact projects. And finally, you should budget time into all projects for documentation, because that will support your impact assessment and your tech debt assessment.